What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. It's time to talk about AEW Full Gear 2019. The pay-per-view just ended a few minutes ago, so we're going to run down our first impressions, obviously because we haven't watched it a second time, our thoughts on all the matches, the results of everything that went down, and anything else that we feel like talking about. Who are we? Well, you should know by now, but if you don't by any chance, I am your host as always, and I'm joined, as always, by my two cohorts, Robert D. Felice.
I see that you've adopted the Callum Wiggins method of not introducing yourself. I am Robert D. Felice. That is Tony Mango and Callum Wiggins. You didn't say your name. You didn't say your name.
Wow, okay. And Callum Wiggins is also here.
Yes, and I'm tired.
Yeah, what time is it for you?
Nearly 5 a.m.
Oh, fuck.
So I'll be up just in time to watch the KSI Logan Paul fight. So.
The what?
Who do you got?
Oh, Tony doesn't follow boxing. Not that this is really boxing anyway.
This is not boxing.
Is that YouTube dude?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let this play out because I don't do predictions. You know, ever.
Well, tell us your thoughts on that fight in the comments section below. Tell us your thoughts on anything that we're going to talk about for Full Gear as well. If you are on the iTunes feed or Stitcher or Spotify or Google Play or anything that is just audio only and you can't leave a comment, then leave a rating over on that platform. Head on over to YouTube. While you're there, like the video, subscribe if you haven't done that already, ring that little bell for the notifications, and as I mentioned, drop a comment below, tell us your thoughts. So, what we got going on here is a lot of different matches that had a lot of potential. Some of them met their potential, some of them fell a little bit short, and some of them far exceeded it. I'm feeling very, very positive about this, though, overall, and I kind of feel like you guys are in the same boat as me, right?
Yeah, this was a great show.
Yeah, I very, very much enjoyed the entire evening.
So, for the person that had said I complain too much, yeah, I complain too much about some things. Not going to happen as much in this one, though. So, heads up on that.
Oh, damn. No, we're not giving them what we advertise.
Yeah, well, let's bitch about this. No, I'm just kidding. I could complain about the way that everything started, but it's a different story. The buy-in was Britt Baker against Priestley. And even though I feel like this was kind of one of the more meh sort of matches of the night, I thought it was good enough. It did its job. It told the story of Baker getting some vengeance. Priestley didn't quite pull as much of a hard-edged, darker side that I really wanted. And for that matter, Baker didn't really have a whole lot of firing up and getting back at her sort of things. But I thought it was okay. How'd you guys feel about it?
In fairness to Britt Baker, she had the flu, so she was probably coming in at much less than 100%. But I enjoyed it. Like you, I wish Baker would have at least cranked it up on the lockjaw, but I liked the match, and I liked the promo that aired before the match a lot. Britt Baker firing up in that promo should have been shown on TV.
In terms of the match, I thought it was a well-told story between the two of them. I thought, even though Priestley could have been a bit more vicious, she still showed a lot of a fair amount of aggression on the heel side of things, and the crowd was definitely against her, which was good. It played into the story well. I think with Britt Baker, she's going to improve, and she's going to have better matches than better matches than this one, hopefully down the line. I just feel that when I watch her, I can see the hesitation, the gears moving in her head when she's about to do something. Where it doesn't come across as quite sharp yet, but it'll get there over time, I think.
No worse than that 10-hour.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah, that's true.
It's definitely not that level, and she has she'd probably have more excuses than Tanara would to do that as well. So, but in terms of the promo beforehand, I thought it was passionate, which was good. I don't like this concept of. I know AEW's a little bit breaking the fourth wall in terms of they talk to wrestling fans as if they're smart wrestling fans, but the concept of we're not going into the ring to hurt each other, and what Priestley did was try to hurt me, which is unprofessional. Smacked a little bit too much of okay, so what we're actually doing is doing a performance, and if we actually hurt each other, that's the bad thing rather than what your goal is. because I've always taken the approach of I want wrestling to be like a fight, or at least be presented as a fight, but keeping people safe in the process.
Well, now that you said that out loud, and you're right, because I had an issue with that as well. But how the fuck do you explain that main event? Like, there's no. See, that's where you get into these weird back doors of like, hey, we're professionals and we're actually just trying to be safe. And then it's, hey, here's these two dudes that are gonna fucking kill each other. You know?
I think more egregious is the standard trope wrestling format outline that they kind of do, where it's like, this is the setup for the whole thing. Now I need to get into the promotion part where I go, P. Priestley, we know what you're capable of. We know that this is whatever, but at this event, I'm going to beat you. I'm like, oh my God, we still can't get past that. You know, that threw me off more than the whole, she didn't call me up and apologize or anything like that. So I wasn't a big fan of the promo. Oh my God, Tony's complaining too much.
I just like the, you knocked me out, and by the way, I know how to fucking rip your jaw from your mouth. I thought that intensity is good.
I'd like to see more intensity, but I did think that it was fine. Like, this could have been one of the weaker matches, and it was one of the weaker matches, but compared to some of the other ones, of course it was going to be a weaker match. I mean, shit, some of the matches we got were freaking amazing, so just because in comparison it looks a little bit worse doesn't mean that it was a bad match. And overall, I gave it a thumbs up. A thumb up. That makes more sense. Everybody says a thumbs up, but, whatever. That's another grammar lesson for another day. After the match, which, by the way, Baker won by submission, Awesome Kong and Brandy Rhodes came out, and Kong cut off some of Priestley's hair and kept it. Creepy.
So
I feel like people on 4chan are gonna kind of be like, oh, I get it.
I hate this. I genuinely hate this. I like Brandy Rhodes a lot. I like Awesome Kong, but when everybody else outside of like the Dark Order are very grounded in reality, especially the elite family, for lack of a better word, why is Brandy Rhodes just like, I'm totally gonna enjoy playing a spooky character that's going through her goth phase?
Yeah, we talked about that on the predictions. That is very much a low point for AEW's characters.
I'm willing at the very least to let it play out. I mean, from what I've seen at the moment, it's not that gripping to me, but we'll kind of see if it develops anymore. It seems that they're going with an idea of Kong being kind of not so much a bounty hunter, but taking something from the people that she defeats or beats up. So if they play that into character and they do it a little bit more like reserved than what they're currently doing, which is going very full blown, okay, we're essentially two witches that are using it to cast some kind of magic behind the scenes, then I probably won't be as into it.
Yeah.
We already had enough of that with the like the Rosemary and Ali stuff in Impact, so.
And it's good stuff, and I bet you anything she gets involved in this. It's good stuff. It's just, it's very out of place for this brand. We kind of talked about how all the EVPs kind of do their thing, and it kind of looks like a mishmash of what they all think wrestling should be. Brandy Rhodes seems like she just really wants to play a character and wants to do this witch thing, even though this does not fit with anything else going on.
It would be so much better if it was somebody other than Brandy in that role.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of Kong doing something like this. That's kind of cool, and it could turn into something more than what it seems like right now. But I don't like Brandy being the facilitator of it.
Like if you hired, I don't know.
If they had Thunder Rosa.
That's the name I was thinking of. Thank you.
Yeah, like that would be a better fit, I think.
Or even like Rosemary doing this as well.
Yeah, or like if you hired Rosemary or
Sinister Minister.
Just like somebody with ties to that occult, like nature. Brandy Rhodes just randomly being like, "Hey, I'm possessed now." It's very strange.
Especially when you counterpart it with, here's a shot of me and Cody in our house and our dog and our lovely kitchen. Also, I'm a witch. Wait, what? It's kind of
Well,
strange.
it was a long month. Cody was training. She took up witchcraft.
Yeah, she got Farouza Balk to hang out. And who were the other two? Balk's the only one I can remember being in that movie.
You talking about Hocus Pocus?
No, The Craft. I gotta look it up because it'll bug the shit out of me if I don't. Robin Tunney. And Nev Campbell, that was the other one. I couldn't think of the name. I wouldn't have picked out Robin Tunney. I don't remember what she's in. But yeah, old school movie back in like 97 or something like that. For anybody who's like 96, I was close. I'm showing my age here. So that was the buy-in. Again, pre-show, you gotta mitigate your expectations a little bit when it comes to that. And this time, more than what the past couple of ones have been, this felt more like a WWE kickoff where they predominantly had a lot of video packages and stuff. So I didn't really like that, but it is a pre-show. So
you know what though? I shout out to their video packages. These are great.
Yeah, they do their job very well. I think, especially with the match we're going to talk about with the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful. Proud and Powerful have a lot of character.
Although, having seen it full through, I'm going to go with what Callum said on the pre-show. It made Proud and Powerful look like baby faces, with them shouting to be who you are and be proud of who you are.
Yeah, I can imagine the people that are in the subway when they were filming that, and he's just like, it's like, stand up for yourself, proud to be Latino, do shit. Fucking like Shia LaBeouf almost or something. And they're probably just kind of like, why is this guy yelling?
But you can get away with that in New York. That's just another day.
I just want to go to Bedford Avenue. Just kind of. But that did take us into the first match of the night for the main card. It was Proud and Powerful Ortiz and Santana against Nick and Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks. And this was a fantastic match. One of my favorites. My number 2 of the night, maybe. It's tough because this was, for the longest time, this was my favorite match of the night. And then we got 2 more that were just like really, really good. By the point that this had happened, I think this might have been my favorite match that I've seen in AEW. I absolutely loved it. I loved the storytelling about the whole idea where Nick Jackson had kicked the ring post, and throughout the whole rest of the match, he was selling it. He's doing stuff like not being able to climb the turnbuckle quick enough. I liked the little part where I think it was Ortiz was in the ring, and he was trying to tag in Santana with his boot. And the referee, for the one time in this entire history of AEW, the referee was like, "Nah, it doesn't count. I'm gonna actually be a referee." There was a good moment with the gum. Nick Jackson spitting the gum and Santana eating it, and everybody chanting "You sick fuck," which later on would be like, "Oh, which one's more sick, this or what happened in the main event?" I will say this is where I started to realize how Rocky JR was on commentary. And the first note that I had written down throughout the night was, he couldn't have pinned Mike Knox with that. And then he's like, or Rick Knox, where did that come from? And I'm like, why are we bringing Mike Knox into this from ECW? What the hell's going on here? Lots of little moments from JR. I'll allude to some of them later on, but I really loved this match. I thought that this was fantastic. Proud and Powerful won. By anybody wants to know the results. How do you guys feel?
It was fucking great. It was fantastic. It was the Young Bucks being as good as they promised to be, and it was Proud and Powerful being as good as they know they are. And I like when the Young Bucks tell a story.
Yeah, I thought the match overall turned into a great match. I was a little bit unsure at the start of it because it made it seem like the referee was screwing Proud and Powerful in terms of not allowing that tag with the Furts, and then missing a tag due to the fact that they were distracted by the Young Bucks. And so I kind of thought, and the crowd just started chanting like, ref, you suck, and stuff like that. So I was thinking, okay, immediately turn the crowd on the referee and make Proud and Powerful seem like the people to get behind. But then they did a really good job of targeting Nick's leg, like both his legs pretty much throughout the entire thing, especially the point where he hits the ring post really hard. I thought that was just very well done. A lot of the stuff on this show made me wince a little bit. Like it has that effect on you. And yeah, I thought the tag team action was good. They didn't go overboard in terms of people just being in the ring constantly all the time until the very end. But it's quite typical for most tag team matches to have quite a breakdown towards the end of it. The spot where he's too hurt with his legs, so he can't perform the Meltzer driver, was probably the best thing. I saw people like in the chat because I was watching it on Fight TV. Just it's like, oh, botch, oh, Nick's. I don't know whether they were I don't know whether they were trolling or not, but it's just like, yeah, just if you're somehow managing to fool people into thinking that you actually botched a spot when you've been selling your leg the entire match, I don't know what to do with some people. But yeah, I thought that was very cleverly done. The finish kind of came out of nowhere, but that almost made it better, really, because after Nick had done like fighting through and they'd done like a really near fall for the mat broken up, they just basically just threw him out to the outside, then hit their finisher on Nick and won the match. And I think that kind of worked because people weren't expecting it to happen then, so there was a bit more of a guttural reaction from the crowd. So yeah, overall, this is a very, very good match.
Big fan of it. I liked that they incorporated the Rock and Roll Express as well, because they had done that whole beatdown, and they kind of did a callback with that. And that was surprising as hell, because at the end of this, after Proud and Powerful wins, the Rock and Roll Express are getting into the mix, and was it Bobby that was doing the one that was he did the sunset flip bomb and everything, and it was like, shit, what the hell's going on here?
You just confused the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express. That was Ricky Morton.
Ricky Morton. Oh my god, why am I throwing Bobby out there? Yeah. It's JR. He got to me.
Yeah, Ricky Morton hitting a Canadian destroyer and then a suicide dive.
That was so fucking cool. Like, I immediately texted you guys just like, I love wrestling. It was such a feel-good moment. It was so simple. It was just good. I want more of that.
Yeah, I mean, typically I'm never much of a fan of when a team wins to get beaten up immediately afterwards, because it kind of lessens the impact of the victory. But because it's two legends doing it, it was just a nice little callback to what had previously been done, and it's got the night started off into like a good high note with that just amazing sequence of events. I think it was the right thing to do.
And that kind of ties a little bow on that a little bit. So they can spend a little bit more time in NWA. And
what do you think they'll sign?
I fucking hope so.
They're
going to wrestle until they're dust anyway. They might as well do it on TV.
Aren't they a part of Power? I mean, they were on Power.
Does it matter? You really think people are signed?
I think they're pretty. I think they're pretty much free agents, and they just go everywhere. So I don't imagine they'll sign for AEW, but I wouldn't be surprised they had a match at one point.
Maybe. I don't know if I really want to see that. I think that this is good enough as it is, but that was a fun moment. I like that quite a bit. And we had the Pac against Hangman Adam Page match. Here was more than even the last one, where I realized how much JR was struggling throughout the night. I wrote down a couple different things here. These guys aren't going to be the same for a few days, which to me felt so like, well, yeah. Like, you know, it's not like they'll never be the same again, like they say with like Hell in a Cell or something like that. It's just kind of like, well, yeah, they're going to be beaten up. I mean, it's you know, a fight. How many times can you like stub your toe and for like a week you're like, it's still kind of sensitive or something? That was really kind of weird. The apologies for being repetitive, and the worst of the bunch for this match was 2 lost 3. Pac was 2, Page was 3. Stats, rankings. I was like, oh man, I'm not liking that at all. And that really kind of put a little sour note on the whole thing, because overall I liked the match. Page and Pac, I mean, I have nothing to complain about for the match. I don't remember a whole lot of high spots. that I can be like, this one thing was really great. That was really good. I just liked it. Like, it wasn't as good as the one that came before it, but I liked it. Thumbed up on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Pac, I think it was Cal that mentioned Pac was bumping pretty hard for this one. And I was a little surprised to see Hangman win it, but it really opens up the title picture.
Yeah, really early on, it seemed like Pac was just taking quite a lot of shots to the outside, just hitting the guardrail constantly. Got that tope suicido. Now, see, I'm going JR as well.
And to be clear, JR called it the tope el suicido, and I like that because I don't know, it just came across funny to me.
Yeah, and just like bounces off the guardrail really hard as well. But then he gets into it, gets the heat for a while. I like the fact that there was some rest holds, but it didn't seem like they were resting. It was kind of more aggressive to it. And I think the most interesting spot of the entire match was that brainbuster to the outside on the chair.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so they did some spots of like just Paige just being not loopy by a lot of the stuff that Pac was doing. So I thought they told that element of the story well, and I think it's a good decision to have Paige win this match. The crowd's getting behind him now because they've started doing the cowboy shit chant along with all the stuff that he's doing. So this is another way of helping him get a bit more over in the eyes of the audience.
What do you feel about that cowboy shit?
I hated it at first. Now I kind of warmed up to it.
Yeah, I've warmed up to it too. It's really kind of stupid, but I like it.
It's his thing now. It's like it may just become like a throwaway line, but people would have thought stuff like the 10 chant or the Rusev Day or something like that would be stupid to start with, and then it actually gets legs to it and the crowd get behind it. And I think if you've got an entire crowd of people chanting it along, then you've done a good thing.
I'll get back to a chant thing later on. I have a bone to pick about one of them. But now we've gotten Paige move up the ranks a little bit. It's still kind of unknown whether or not they're going to have this be like a week-to-week sort of thing, but it does step forward.
It's every Friday.
That they're going to do the ranking thing?
Yes.
Okay, so there you go. I'm assuming that he works his way towards the title picture whenever we didn't get any kind of confirmation about any future event. We know that they're obviously going to have one. It's not like this was the end of the AEW, but when we get around to it, maybe he ends up being the next challenger, and I'm okay with that if that's the case. But we'll talk about that when it comes around to it, I guess. Unless
I said I could see him probably getting a title match on TV in the coming weeks or so. I don't imagine that he'll be the person chosen to be the title challenger for the next pay-per-view.
Might not be. It kind of depends on when they do it, because they do have quite a bit of time now. If they don't do it for like until February, then I would think that they would probably do some kind of a match on TV and just kind of make that like towards the end of the year or something like that. Like they could play around with it a little bit.
I just feel like it would be a little odd from like basically 2 out of your last 3 pay-per-views would be the title match would be the same match, and it's with a guy who is, even though he's getting over and is having some really good matches, just isn't quite at that level yet.
Then again, though, Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros. You know.
I understand.
There's enough. Like Darby Allin threw out a challenge. Even though we've seen that match, I'd like to see him get back in there. The Moxley or
Omega, yeah. There's the rare instance where somebody will move up somewhere else on the card.
I think there's some alternatives.
Like QT Marshall or something, but you know.
I think there's enough alternatives that we wouldn't have to revisit the Paige against Jericho match just yet. I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen somewhere down the line, but maybe just not the next show, but maybe the show after that. Just give Paige another feud to concentrate on in the meantime.
So, this is something I was going to potentially save for the hot tags, but I feel like maybe we should just talk about it here because I might end up doing the hot tags on my own, depending on what happens on Monday. Just a heads up for everybody that's out there. There's a story going around that Jimmy Havoc and Excalibur got into some sort of a drunken fight, and kind of assuming that maybe that throws out Jimmy Havoc as being an ex-challenger, but this is a good enough time to talk about it because, you know, there's no time really to draw a parallel, but What do you guys think about that whole situation?
Yeah. How about that Jimmy Havoc?
It's pretty embarrassing for. I wouldn't say it's super embarrassing for the whole company, like it throws the whole company into disrepute, but it's embarrassing for the two guys because Jimmy Havoc's should be at this point too long in the tooth to be getting into drunken brawls, especially now that he's in like a contracted television performer, and Excalibur as well. It's like you're the real like play-by-play commentator for the second biggest wrestling promotion in North America, and you should be wise enough not to get involved in some sort of drunken brawl with another talent.
Well, here's my thing. Havoc should have been in Florida because he wrestled for MLW tonight. So that's a weird, like, why'd you make the pit stop in Baltimore if you're not even on that show? And if the story is true, which I'm doubting, I think Excalibur was just defending himself.
Well, I imagine, like, presumably Starcast was taking place the day before as well. So I imagine Havoc was there and then flew out to do the MLW show afterwards.
Probably.
Sure.
So I don't doubt that the story. I mean, if I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong, but I don't doubt the story is true. It's just I feel like it might have been embellished a little bit. Like this idea of like it happened right in front of Tony Khan's eyes. I kind of feel like that's might be stretching it a little bit, but maybe Tony Khan was in the vicinity when it was happening. But I don't.
But if I can
He pulls up a chair. And...
Yeah. Well,
he's
that's
like
our next
sitting there
title feud coming up.
eating some dinner or something like that. He's
Come on, Havoc!
Yeah.
You're a wrestler. He's a guy with a mask.
Yeah, it didn't seem to affect Excalibur on like his commentary side of things. So we'll have to see what happens with Havoc. Because I don't imagine they considered him being like a top player anyway for the brand going forward. But
well, that's a good enough transition for if you're speaking of people who aren't top players and they're willing to lose quite a bit. Joey Janela is one of them. They are not counting some of his different things. He's had that lights out match and everything. I think
his 2 lights out matches.
His record right now, I think, is 2-7 or 2-8. It's one of the two. I can't remember for sure. And he took another loss here. Shawn Spears beats him. Actually, there's 2 takeaways that I had on this one. One of them was the hair getting caught, which I thought was like, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun.
Love that.
And the pile driver on the outside.
So good.
I love pile drivers. I miss them.
Pile drivers are great.
Yeah,
I'm glad that Shawn Spears won this match too.
Callum, profess your love for pile drivers.
I mean, they're fine. I have no real issue with any of them, as long as they're done by people that know how to do them properly. And if Shawn Spears of all people with the amount of experience he has, should know how to pull off a pile driver, even if he does have to be assisted by a 50 plus year old man jumping off the ring steps to assist him doing it. That was nice. I like that Tully was getting more involved in this than he has done in some of Spears' previous matches.
Do you know that Shawn Spears' theme is Josiah Williams?
Yes, I did want to talk about that. That made me laugh. That the NXT kid is doing the AEW theme song for Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, I like that song. I'm gonna have to download that at some point. Much better than Emi Sakura's.
It had a nice his entrance had a nice element too, of the fact that it starts off completely dark and just him coming out sitting on the chair.
Yeah.
It adds a bit more prestige to him, really.
It's like an ominous kind of feel.
Mm. And he wrestled well in this. I'm not saying it was definitely probably the lowest point of the entire show for me, just because I can't, even though the match wasn't bad, I'm not going to say it was bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think it went a little bit too long, and I don't think it added any value to the card as a whole.
I agree.
Like this could have happened either on the buy-in, or it could have happened on the next episode of AEW, and maybe it would have would have a bit more reason to be there because it's a bit more throwaway. Maybe it's just due to the fact that the feud wasn't really well built towards this, and in order to get the reaction that it would have hoped for, it would need to be like a spectacular match, and it was just a fine match. Like, nothing super bad, just okay.
As far as the length of it, it's only 10 seconds longer than the Baker and Priestley match for the shortest of the night. Baker Priestley was 11 minutes and 35 seconds. This was 11:45. So it was pretty much the shortest match. But
Yes,
it still could be a little bit longer, you know. I mean, nothing has to dictate. You could have a card filled with 45-minute matches, and a 36-minute match is too long or something, you know. So I get that point.
Yeah,
I
just thought that it just dragged a little bit. It was just feeling like, even though some of the the spots with their hair getting tied up and everything like that was nice, I just feel like it felt a bit. I don't want to throw this out as criticism, but some of the stuff that Dillinger was doing was kind of WWE like filler match type content.
I could see that. To me, this kind of was like the Proud and Powerful match, real high up there. Page and Pac, lower than that, but still good. Spears and Janela, lower than Page and Pac, but still a good match. And I was like, uh-oh, we're on a decline going on here.
I did really like Tony said, I like the manipulation of the rules. Power Driver is cool. I do think Spears is bland, but I was kind of left going, okay, how many more episodes of Dynamite until they announce the AEW TV title, and you get guys like Spears and, you know, Allen and Janela fighting for that.
Well, Cody did say that there's supposed to be a new prize next month, and I am really hoping they don't call it the TV title.
It's totally the TV title. I'm sorry to break it to you.
I hate that so much. That drives me crazy. It's all TV. They don't have house shows. Like, the hell? What's the difference between that and the other ones, you know?
Dusty Rhodes invented the TV title.
Ugh. Doesn't matter. He invented a lot of things that suck too, I'm sure.
Jesus.
What? It's true. He's just a common man. He makes mistakes. Man, I gotta unfortunately crap on this match, though. The World Tag Team Championship triple threat, or three-way that they're calling it. SoCal Uncensored go in as champions. They retain over Lucha Brothers and Private Party. I was not into this match. I was very disappointed in it.
Crowd was pretty dead for most of this match until Fenix started to do what Fenix does. The crowd was pretty much just very lukewarm to this entire thing. Crowd and even when they were excited for it, they were so desperate for the Lucha Brothers to win this match, which I'm certain was totally not the vibe they were hoping to get.
Yeah, people are really into the Lucha Brothers and the Zero Fear, which Tony said he'd be fine if they never did again, and I have to agree, because they do it ad nauseum every time they're in the ring.
They've burned through that shit already.
And that's only because you just started watching them. I've been watching them as Pentagon specifically for years now, and yeah, there's a heavy reliance on that catchphrase.
I mean, like, I get it. It's your catchphrase. You're going to want to do it once in a while because that's the friggin' point of a catchphrase, but you shouldn't do it 3 times within the first 2 minutes of the match or something. It's not every spot that you have when you're going to do something to be like a taunt. You do the same fucking one a dozen times in a match. Give me a fucking break. Now that they're on TV and they have Dynamite and Dark and all that, I've seen this enough already that I never want to hear it again. And that makes me dislike the Lucha Brothers, which is like, that sucks. I don't want to dislike the Lucha Brothers, you know?
Well, they might want you to after they beat the crap out of SCU when they won the match.
I would have to say, I know some people might disagree with me, especially Rob, because he's such a big fan of them, but I think Private Party really pulled this match down. I think they were the fly in the ointment in this match. And if it had just been SoCal Uncensored against the Lucha Brothers, it would have been a better match.
See, the problem is we saw that match already.
Yeah, I know.
They wanted that. I will agree with you. It seems like they were just kind of there to take the pinfall. So
I mean, they did some fun stuff with like Quen getting a hot tag and going like we're House of Fire and everyone, but I just don't think the crowd were just into them. They just didn't feel that, which is odd because of how much they'd gone over it with the match with the Young Bucks and and the match with Lucha Brothers they had previously. They just don't seem to be. They just didn't seem to connect with this audience.
well, this audience should have been connected to them because it's closer to their home base than anywhere else AEW's been.
I'm also not a fan of the high-pitched shriek.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's a little comedy, goofy thing. Like, but to be fair, Montez Ford does that with the Street Profits as well.
Well, why?
I don't know. Maybe they just feel like they need to inject a bit of comedy into their stuff, which I don't think is super necessary. If it's a comedy match, then yeah, go for it. But like, this isn't Screaming Norman Smiley like in the middle of the WCW run. It's like this is supposed to be a match for the tag team titles. Try and just do your stuff.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in this. It had a lot of potential, and they didn't come close. So this was actually my low point of the night, more than anything else. And I would have thought that would have been Riho versus Emi Sakura. But I actually like that better than I thought that I would.
Oh, sure, before we move on to that, do we just talk about the fact that after the match, Lucha Brothers attacked SoCal Uncensored and Christopher Daniels
skipped over Daniels.
Yeah, Daniels made his return.
Yeah.
Dressed as Pentagon 3, as Excalibur. Pentagon Trace, should I say, that Excalibur referred to him as.
And more importantly, they seem to be digging into the archives and pulled out the Fallen Angel gimmick, which was Daniel's thing in TNA, which he actually stopped because he was in a feud with Sting. And he's like, well, I'm the Fallen Angel. We can do XYZ. I know you're religious. And Sting kind of shot down every idea. So eventually he was like, yeah, well, no one wants to do anything based on this gimmick. I'm just going to throw the gimmick away. And he brought it back tonight. So that's pretty cool.
I didn't know that whole thing. It's kind of a shame to not be able to do that just based off of those reasons. But yeah, he brought it back. That's cool.
Kip Sabian, I know that was, I think, after the Janela match. He said words.
Yeah. For the Kip Sabian thing, that was after the Janela thing. He is now partnered up with TH2. They're the hybrid 2. That's Angelico and Jack Evans. And he basically had said the reason why is because everybody's got a bunch of friends here. They all have cliques. And
he's not wrong.
Yeah, it's true. You got the Elite. You got different tag teams. You got the whole inner circle. And he's also joined by Penelope Ford, who just gave him a kiss on the cheek. And she said, why be bad when you can be super bad? And she's bored.
Was that shown on the screen? Like for Janela?
I don't know, but it was definitely referencing Janela.
Yeah, because I'm like, that seemed like a direct dig at, all right, I was with Janela, now I'm with Kip Sabian. Why be bad?
Because he's the bad boy. And
I think that's good.
Bad.
I think that's good.
It's good.
It sets both of them up on like a next feud, which could run for a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, because it doesn't have to be like super high up the card, but it gives them both something to do for a while.
Yeah, and Sabian hasn't really had anything to sink his teeth into yet. So this will be kind of a good showcase for him. Unless they go in a different direction. I would assume that that's where they go from here. But they could do something else. I don't know. Either way, this is the first time that I saw any kind of like promo work from Sabian. So that was a step in the right direction. I like that. We are kind of getting to the point, though, where almost everybody has some kind of a faction that's going on. And kind of wondering when they're going to do their like Survivor Series kind of thing. Because at some point it's going to happen. You know that.
I'm sure that
SCU, and you're going to have the Elite, and you're going to have the Inner Circle, and you know.
I think they've taken a lot of inspiration from the New Japan way of doing things, which basically everyone is aligned to some kind of faction.
That's true.
So, and I don't think that's a bad attitude to take. It means that everyone has people watching your back and people to be feuding with. And so once you've moved once you've had a feud with somebody from a particular faction, you can even move on to another faction. You can fight someone else from the same faction. So it makes things a little bit more easy to determine which side you're rooting for.
Either way, interesting way to go about it. I like that. We had Riho against Emi Sakura for the Women's World Championship, and as I mentioned before, I like this more than I thought that I would, although I still didn't love it. I think at this point, I just have to admit, I don't like either of them. And even though this was better than I thought that it was going to be, it still was one of the weaker matches, I think, of the night.
I liked it. I thought it should have gone on a little bit longer. I have a huge bone to pick with the presentation of this. So at about midday, I'll say 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Kenny Omega tweets out, teacher versus student. Hey, look at all these matches they've had together. And by the way, they're 3-3 in title matches against each other. And all weekend long, Riho and Sakura are tweeting out these things. And I'm like, put this on TV. Let people know why they should care about your match. And yeah, they did show the video package before the match, but you should have built this up. This had quite a lot of story to it. So I hope that that's something that they do going forward, is present their women a little stronger.
Yeah, I completely agree with the fact that they should have alluded to their history a lot more in the build-up to this, if this was the match they were planning on doing on Full Gear. So they definitely needed to do a better job promoting it rather than just waiting for this show, because frankly, you got, was it 800,000 plus people watching week to week? How many people were going to have ordered this? Maybe close to 30 or 40,000, maybe 100,000 at a push. It's like, these are the people that obviously have bought in to watch other stuff, but you need to be telling the history of to a much wider audience when you have the opportunity to do so. But
yeah, that hurt this for sure, because I didn't feel any of that passion at all. And if I wouldn't have watched that pre-match video package, I wouldn't have really known that whole setup, because they didn't tell that story during the match. It wasn't like we have any kind of real personality traits to go on for either of these two. Like, they don't cut promos, so it's not like Riho's been talking for months now about how she's got her trainer that she wants to prove she's better than now, or like anything to really drive that. And if you take out that little video package and you just say two people against each other, same thing.
Having said that, this is definitely my favorite match I've seen Riho in. Yeah, I thought she was a lot more physical in this match, which I appreciate. There was still some spots where her strikes were a little bit weak, but she did seem to be more willing to lay in a little more with Sakura, and that's probably due to the fact that they've worked so closely together before. I like Sakura. I think, even though I don't think everyone gets on board with Freddie Mercury inspired stuff, I think when she does the stomp and the clap and the crowd are actually booing and she's trying to get him on side, I think that was a nice touch. And then doing the Wayo thing before going into
I like that a lot.
Yeah, going into submission holds. I thought that was that was a nice little touch as well, and some of the crowd were getting along with it. I think she was pretty impressive. And the thing with Riho, which I do actually love about her being champion, is that, as Excalibur and Jim Ross will have no problem reminding you constantly, she's 98 pounds. And so...
Did you know she started training when she was 9?
But that means that she can be an ultimate babyface, because people would just throw her around like nothing. And she was getting tossed around the entire match, like whether it's by her hair or that vicious Saito suplex that Sakura hit towards the end of it. The tilt the world backbreakers looked absolutely brutal. So that was great. And there's no doubt that Riho's got this real connection with the audience right now. I don't know how long it will last or can last, really, but there definitely is a tangible connection between her and the audience, and they really want to get behind her. And the finishing sequence with all the submissions, not submissions, the like cradles and pinfall attempts. There was one spot which was bad, and I think it was a bad refereeing error more than anything else, where the referee hits one and then he shows that, well, you can kind of tell if you're watching it that there's a break, but then he hits two more, and so some people in the crowd are getting to their feet thinking it's the 3 count, but realistically he'd stopped the first count and gone for another 2 count, which I thought was like ill-timed, especially towards the end of it, because people were waiting for what was going to be the finish. And then they went into a few more sequences, and then you could tell that not all of the crowd, but some of the people in the crowd were like going, "What the fuck is this? Why is it still going on?" Because they thought the referee had screwed up.
Yeah, I was looking at the bewildered people in the crowd, and I saw one dude that actually held up his hand as like 3 to like his like buddy. Yeah, like, wasn't that a fucking 3 count? Like,
which was, I was just really disappointed because the finish sequence was it was really, really fluid what they were doing. I thought they'd thrown in some really good sequences and pinfall attempts. Like they, sorry, they played back the element where Sakura went for the La Magistral pin, which is what she used to beat Riho in the previous episode. And Riho got out of it with double knee stomp and then did a really, really innovative move into a sunset pin. So, yeah, that was good. I thought it was a lot better than what I was expecting.
Yeah, good shit all around. And I know we were joking about it in the chat, but I kind of dig Emi Sakura and the music and Freddie Mercury, and I want to see more of them. I just don't want to see Joshi matches exclusively as the title matches, and then it's like, well, we don't know why they're fighting. So I think give us more purpose. I like Riho. She's going to go down as a huge star for them, and I think more will come in time.
I do kind of want to just hit the fast forward button and have Awesome Kong beat the living hell out of her and win the title.
That'll be a visual.
Yeah, just do it. Rip off half the hair or whatever your new gimmick is. I don't know. Like, I'm not sold on Riho.
Not the
as
worst
champion.
thing we saw with a knife
tonight. That's true.
I would just make the argument that even if we're not sold on it, it's not. We shouldn't be the ones who are judging it. Really, you should always go by what the majority of the people are saying. If they were all behind Riho, then stick with Riho for as long as you need to.
Nah, do what I like. You can see I would be a Vince McMahon, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. If there is
she could come out into the next episode of AEW and announce that she's pregnant with another man's child.
My God. Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know what we're referencing, apparently there's this whole thing that's happening on Monday Night Raw. Check out the spoilers. We won't really break it down right now, just in case you don't want to, but
I hope you do the hot tags with me, because I just remembered that that's a thing.
Yeah, the story that's being told for the people that were in there was that it's one of the worst segments that's like ever happened and all that. It doesn't sound like that's all that crazy to imagine, so stay tuned to Raw. We'll figure that out when it happens. Before we move on to our 2 final matches of the night, let me toss out something for people who are interested in it. The Patreon is something that I've been plugging quite a bit lately, and that is there's a lot of different elements to it, a lot of tentacles from an octopus that you can kind of take advantage of, and the different tiers are something. If you've got $1 or $5 or $475,000, I don't know, you can take advantage of those different things, but one of them being the Pick Your Poison tier. And for that, if you donate to that tier, then you can request some kind of a special feature, some kind of a gimmick to do. And we've been doing a couple things recently. We did the Mount Rushmore of comedy acts. We did the fantasy booking of the invasion angle. Guess 5, thinking of some ideas now that we're going to do for the next one in the next couple of weeks or so. And there are other different ways that you can do the same kind of thing. Not quite on the same level, but one of them that I want to try to do, and I want to know everybody's opinion about it just in case, to see, gauge everybody's expectations and their thoughts on the concept in general, is I want to do more dark match things and bring that back and do that for Patreon only. So if you think that the 10 or 20, I don't remember for sure which one I'm going with there. I think it's the 21. If that tier is reasonable for Patreon only content, Ideally, I'd like to do maybe 2 of them a month. At the very least, I would do 1 of them a month of things that you can only listen to if it's on that. So if you like that idea, drop a comment, tell me about that. And if you don't, drop a comment about that as well, so I know. But the Patreon is a good way to sponsor more content for Smark Out Moment. So if you can't get enough of us doing our kind of shtick and you want us to do more, hit up the Patreon. And if you don't have a whole bunch of spare change, you can just support us through the other ways, subscribing and so on and so forth like that. But if you want some merch, that's another thing to take advantage of. The TeePublic and Redbubble shops for Smark Out Moment, A Mango Tees, and Fanboys Anonymous all have a wide variety of merchandise that you can take advantage of. And just going to round out my plug here, if you don't know what Fanboys Anonymous is, that is my website where I do movie reviews and talk about things in the geek culture spectrum. So I recently did my Terminator Dark Fate review, and I am chipping away and pretty much almost finished the thing that was sponsored from Guest 5 of the reboot of the Pokemon Generation 1 notes. So you're going to have, there's a long list of things there, and that's going to be coming up sometime in the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in Pokemon.
I was going to ask if that would be out Friday before the video game release of Sword and Shield.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to go up maybe around Monday or so. I think I need one more day to hash out picking what the different trainers would end up picking for their types and stuff, but it'll be coming up in the next couple of days or so. The Pokédex is done, and it is all over the place, and I have so many notes that I couldn't even put down on there, and I could do that at some point, some future article or some future Patreon sponsored thing. I don't know, but yeah, stay tuned for that kind of stuff. So we have 2 more matches to talk about here. The AEW World Championship match was Chris Jericho against Cody. And our 3 judges ringside for that whole concept were Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, and the Great Muta. So we kind of had a couple of them. We had mentioned Malenko, we had mentioned Arn Anderson. I don't think anybody mentioned Muta, but it didn't really factor in anyway. They didn't get a part of this whatsoever.
That was kind of like just a cool, hey, they're here.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I didn't think that it needed to go the limit, especially because, other matches went on long, and if this would have tacked on another 20 minutes or something like that, I don't think that would have been a good idea. But I loved this match. I thought that it was one of the better stories throughout the night. The types of things where, I guess, being in WWE paid off for some of them. And I do have to criticize Cody's entrance. We talked about this in our own little chat before when we were watching the event. He just seems to keep tacking on extra minutes for like a setup, leading into a setup, leading to his theme. I don't know if he's trying to like beat out The Undertaker or Orton for how long he can get to the ring and everything like that, but I'm not digging that a whole lot. But I am digging the "fuck your birthday" chant, which I thought that they were saying Piper Norway. I'm like, what the fuck are they saying? Fuck your birthday, that was fun.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, it's Chris Jericho's 49th birthday today.
The cut that Cody suffered above his eye, pretty righteous.
It was horrifying, really. I mean, especially when we're going to talk about what happened after, like in the next match, it kind of pales a little bit into comparison. But the way that he just landed on the face first on the thing, I don't know how you can prepare for that kind of thing or expect a cut to be as perfectly put together as his one was, because the way that he landed, he could go really, really badly wrong.
He had to have nicked himself beforehand.
I was trying to actually look, I actually scanned back to the start of the match to see if I could see if he had any stitches in place, which would just get opened up when he would make a landing like that. But I couldn't see anything super significant. So maybe it's just really good fortune that it landed the way that he did. But yeah, that cut looked really nasty, and Jericho went after it. This Jericho, he's definitely not, obviously, he can't do all the same things that he used to be able to do like 10 years ago. And he's not that athletic, but he's now evolved into a more, I don't want to say Bruiser Brody style brawler, who'll just target a part of the body and will do like knee strikes to the gut and just target any cut or opening possible with strikes. and he's now more of a brawler type than he ever has been in his career, and I think that's a nice evolution of his in-ring persona.
I loved it. Okay. Cody, I really feel has benefited most from this promotion because he gets to really be hands-on with so much. And I think all of his matches tend to be the best told stories of the night. And this was no exception. This was a beautiful story told from beginning to end, where you've got, the odds are against Cody because he's put them against himself because he doesn't want to be his dad who just booked himself as the champion and as the top star. And then, Jericho gets him with this cut. He's stepping on his head with the lion tamer, and MJF throws in the towel. And it's this emotional moment. And yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
With the throwing in the towel thing, even before what happened after that, I was thinking, that's actually not a bad way to get around this. Because Cody, he loses. He's on the record books as having lost the match, but he didn't actually tap out. He didn't quit. So it is the type of thing where on a technicality you can be like, oh, well, he didn't really quit. He didn't really lose the match, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a cop-out, but at the same time, it's a lot better of a cop-out than if they would have done, like, I don't know, Jericho, when he hit him with the belt, that he got pinned then. And then it would be like, well, that should have been a DQ, or,
I think it'll end up working out just because Cody's so over as a babyface right now. I mean, there's a real argument to be made that he's the biggest babyface in North America right now. And
it's not Seth Rollins, that's for sure.
Well, he hasn't started saying "burn it down" yet, so we have to wait until he gets to that point. But I thought Jericho did everything possible to be booed, like Jake Hager getting involved and Aubrey Edwards throwing him out, which is a nice touch, using the belt, his weight training belt, to beat Cody Rhodes with. Obviously putting him into the lion tamer and just doing the stomps to the head, like Rob said. I think, especially with the throwing in the towel option, I would like to see, especially with what happened after the match, I would like for Cody to stick to the stipulation for a while to show that he's honourable until he gets dragged into it by either the feud that's like a prospect for him or the fans really desperately wanting him to challenge for the title again. Because I think there's at least some room to be had with dragging this out for a few months, maybe even like half a year or a year even, of him just not challenging because because he's a man of his word and he's sticking to the stipulation.
Yeah, I mean, he could feud with other people in the meantime. Like, he doesn't have to be the champion or the challenger to be able to be a good spot on the card or anything.
Well, I would ideally, like, especially considering what happened, which was, for those that haven't seen it yet, MJF, like, does the whole crying thing, like, I'm so sorry about it, I just was trying to protect you, and Cody seems to come to terms with it eventually, and they go for a hug, and MJF kicks him in the balls and leaves him laying. So I would have thought a really good, and I don't know how far they'd be willing to go with this, but the long term that I would see happening is MJF and Cody feud for a little while, but MJF comes out kind of on top of it towards the end of it, and then after a few title transitions, the title ends up on MJF, and that's the person who Cody goes after to win the title from.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm hoping that they go.
Me too.
And that would be the best way around it, because, I mean, that sets up the idea of, like, okay, well, you wanted to get me out of the title picture, which makes perfect sense, too. Like, if you're MJF and you're an asshole and you want to be the world champion, you take out a big name like Cody and make it to where he, quote-unquote, will never fight for the championship again by doing that. That's a good method of telling that story. Why wouldn't he want to take him out of that? I mean, he has his friend and all that, but he's primarily a jerk, so he's going to put himself above his friend. And now that they're fast forwarding a little bit and they're rushing towards this feud between the two of them, that is the best way you could go about it. If MJF wins that title from, I'm assuming, whoever beats Jericho, which could be Omega, could be Moxley, it could be Hangman Page, all that stuff we were talking about earlier, then that would be such a good way to do that for, like, All Out next year. Or maybe All Out in 2021 or something like that.
Yeah.
Because All Out's probably going to be their WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, they've
You'd
already
imagine so.
said All Out is in Chicago every year. And realistically, we can just kind of sit on this for years. Like MJF can win the initial rivalry that will occur now, and there's so much depth that you can just stay away from this and come back to it when you really need to. And MJF is just such a prick whenever he does get that belt that Cody's like, you know what? You're the one who took it from me in the first place. I'm gonna have to go back on my word and take this title from you because you're just too much.
And yeah,
you're just too much.
Yeah.
You're just too much there, buddy.
Yeah.
It has to be said, this is a massive vote of confidence for MJF.
Yeah.
Like they clearly know what they have with this guy, and they're going to push him to the top pretty damn quickly.
And just like it makes sense because this guy's awesome.
Yeah, this guy is. I mean, I know he says it, and we're supposed to hate him for it, but there is probably no denying that he is the future of wrestling.
He is legit the best heel.
And he'll him and Jericho are probably pretty much on par at the moment, but MJF is just so much more hateable than Jericho is, just because he doesn't have the experience behind him yet. But yeah, I could definitely see MJF just being the staple of AEW for a long time going forward, especially on the heel side. And the spot towards the end when MJF is leaving and the fan throws a beer or something like that at MJF. If it was a plant, that's a brilliant idea.
It was.
If it's not a plant, it's even more brilliant.
It was an indie guy, Alan Angels.
Okay, well, it's still a brilliant spot, I think. But I was kind of hoping it was just a regular fan, because then you just think, oh my god, how much is this working? This is like, this is the Bash of the Beach incident, that type of thing.
People probably really wanted to, he does exude that aura about him that's just like, this fucking guy,
Yeah, you can kind of tell that it kind of had to be a plant, because he just sold it too well.
And they shot it too well.
Yeah, but it's still a great moment.
Yeah, it would have been better if it was just some random dude, though. Just like some, it's still real to me, damn it, guy was just kind of like, you turned on your friend, fuck you, But I liked it too. I'm sure a lot of people aren't gonna really think much about it or look into it, and to them, it was a real fan that was just sitting out there and did it. So it gets the point across.
And realistically, Jericho shouldn't have been losing the title yet, so it gets to extend his reign a little bit longer.
Now that that's happened, though, we were talking about this before with the whole Wrestle Kingdom. Does he go in there as AEW World Champion and lose?
Well, he won't be announced as AEW Champion, and he won't take the title with him. So, as far as anyone, people that are watching on the American side of things will know he's AEW Champion, but I don't want to say like the majority of Japanese audience, because I don't know how closely they follow AEW or anything like that, but I assume at least a fair percentage of them will have no idea that he's AEW Champion. So they'll just do whatever they want to do. It could be seen as a reasonably big deal, but hell, they might just say, "Well, just have Jericho go over Tanahashi then," because that doesn't hurt him.
Yeah, you never know.
It's not like Tanahashi needs to win the match, but it's still quite interesting that Jericho is one of the, like, Jericho and Moxley. If and when Moxley does go back, seem to be the only ones still with any contact with AEW, New Japan. It makes me kind of feel like this story about them just being on really, really cold speaking terms is maybe a bit overblown.
Well,
I think it's BS.
Well, not according to not according to what Kenny is saying and what they reported in the Observer, but grain of salt.
I just think that I'm not saying that they're probably not best buds at the moment, considering how a lot of the people that ended up forming AEW left New Japan like sitting high and dry. But I don't think it's an irreparable break between the two, because they've got to realise that there's a lot of opportunity and money to be made by just burying the hatchet and working together.
There, you heard it right then, everybody. The AEW's next event is called Bury the Hatchet, and it's AEW versus New Japan.
And it would probably be the best show of the year.
Yeah, on that show, John Moxley will legitimately bury a hatchet in someone's head.
It probably would be.
Because that's the only thing that you can do at this point.
Man, we got to talk about that, because their main event, beyond the quote-unquote main event, was the Lights Out match, Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega. And it's the first note I have written down, I forgot that he did this. Throughout the match, at the beginning of this match, pretty early on, Moxley goes to the camera and he says, "Unsanctioned, eh? Time for some fucking garbage wrestling."
Yep.
Which I thought was funny. But holy shit, this match was fucking awesome. This was my favorite match that has happened so far with AEW. Again, and I mentioned at the beginning of the night with the Young Bucks match that was, at that point, my favorite match. And kind of on par with that one was the Cody Rhodes one. But this one beat those two out. This was so much fun and brutal as all hell. By watching WWE and getting trained into their nonsense, where it's like, it's gonna be this like hardcore Hell in a Cell, the worst match ever. They're gonna hit each other with some kendo sticks. Ah, my God, he hit him with a chair in the back. This is so brutal. And you watch this, and it's like, let's just sweep each other's back with a barbed wire mop or a broom, and you got a mouse
glass in each other's mouths.
Well, they did the barbed wire stuff, and that was already like, oh, goddamn, this is more than I thought that they were going to potentially do or whatever. Then you bring out a mousetrap board, and then you bring out these chains. Then you bring out an ice pick, and it goes through the turnbuckle, and then you bring out the broken glass, which I was like, Jesus Christ, we're still going here. I'm thinking that they're bringing out tacks, and just thinking, oh, here's the tack spot. That's going to be fucking awful. But the glass, they're trying to say that it's the broken glass from that table, which I thought was a cool little touch.
He put it in the man's mouth.
Yeah. The referee got glass in his hand. There's 6 moves or whatever that involved people getting slammed on the glass. That's before they even did the barbed wire spider web that they were calling it. Brutal match.
You kind of feel like at the start of this match, one of them should have just turned to the camera and said, "Hi, I'm Kenny Omega, and welcome to Jackass." It's like,
or
like that.
maybe you should have said, "This is where the jungle ends."
Yeah.
They didn't do a single whoop whoop the entire time.
They should have yelled "fuck this shit," because what else was there to say?
Yeah, this match is like, there probably hasn't been a match like this since ECW died, or like in the real heyday of CZW doing these sort of death matches. I mean, the only way they could have gone further is by using light tubes and stuff like that, but it was like so violent, so innovative. Match is like spectacular when it completely splits the audience that's watching it. So some people that are saying that this is the greatest ever, and some of them saying, "Wow, this is disgusting, horrible, this is going way too far." That's the sign of a match that truly is genius. So
somebody watching this, like, fell in love with hardcore wrestling. Like, I got vibes, like, when I saw Hunter and Cactus Jack at the Rumble for the first time, and it was just like, this is so cool. These guys are practically murdering each other. And this was drastically worse than Triple H and Cactus Jack 18 years ago.
I have a JR-ism that I wrote down that I thought was really funny. He said, "I got a feeling Omega's going to get the wood in a minute." And then it's like, oh, I gave him the wood or whatever. It's like, okay.
Renee would have been upset.
Renee was upset.
Yeah, no.
Renee was not happy.
Yeah, she was
she
going
tweeted
off into
out
it.
seriously, what the fuck, and hi, I hate this, or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was like I'm sure for a lot of people watching it, it was going too far. Like the stuff like just raking the barbed wire across the bat with the broom, or like putting the glass in the mouth and putting the glass between the fingers is just like that's my limit, because I can't imagine like doing anything like that between the webbing of my fingers. That's just like, okay. I remember Jackass doing an episode as a skit like that where they did like paper cuts between the webbing of their fingers and toes. It's just like, yeah, that's me. Just I'm not going to watch this part, and then I'll go back to it once it's done. Like, the barbed wire like suplex to the outside. It was a more interesting thing to me was like they did this huge suplex to the outside, just both going through barbed wire, and then they both go through this like plexiglass AEW symbol on the outside, and then they come in, and then their big final spot is they're gonna take the
drop them on wood.
Drop them on wood. It's like it's a little bit of a, but I know that's kind of the big thing that people do for some of these hardcore matches to end it now. And yeah, I thought what at least it led to, which was arguably one of the most brutal spots of the entire match, which is the Phoenix splash from the top onto just a load of wooden planks.
Yeah, that could have been one of the more dangerous things.
Because he landed head first. Because
Yeah.
you can tell because he's bleeding over his eye, like Cody was. Not as it didn't have a cut that was quite as vicious, but he definitely landed on his head, and that's like the crowd just completely was stunned by that, because I assume they imagined that okay, he's going to miss the Phoenix splash, but he's going to land on his feet or something and just roll through, and then they're going to do the finish on whatever. But no, he just crumpled right on top of it. It's really, really, just so much. This match was so scary.
Yeah, this was just awesome.
This was fantastic.
I said before, this is my favorite match that they've done in AEW so far. Do you guys have another match that you think tops it?
For me, the
Off the top of your head,
story
obviously.
of Cody and Dustin at Double or Nothing was such a good like open door to AEW, but this is right there. This was fantastic, and Kenny Omega finally had a really fucking good match this year.
Yeah, this match is definitely way up there. I think the Cody Dustin one has to be up there as well. I think the Young Bucks private party match is pretty damn great as well from just the episode of Dynamite. And I know everyone else seems to disagree, but I really love that women's 6-man tag from Double or Nothing, and I've still 6-woman tag, should I say?
And we didn't even say the fucking crazy ladder match. So like they've had solid matches, but this is right up there.
Yeah, I think anyone who would make the argument that this is the best match in AEW history so far, it's definitely an argument that people can make and can defend quite easily.
Yeah, it's a lot better than somebody going, that Leva Bates match, or something like that. I thought that this was the best match of the night. Moxley wins by pinfall and ends the night on a major, major high note. And I don't know for sure how I'd rank this, but this is up there for not just AEW, but also WWE. This might be the show of the year.
It's definitely high up there. I'd definitely put it top 10 for sure, maybe even top 5. Because obviously, because you incorporate a lot of the NXT shows, which have been like a very high standard. A lot of them, especially ones earlier in the year. You still have to incorporate Double or Nothing, which was also a great show from AEW. I would say that it probably beats out pretty much any WWE show this year, just because I don't think there has been a WWE show that matches these ones. And then you have, especially for me and Rob that watch the New Japan side of things, you've got like Wrestle Kingdom and Dominion, which were great shows as well. So yeah, there's been a lot of good wrestling this year, but this is definitely.
But I think stateside, this is
a great one.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really, really great show.
And for the Smark Out Moment End of the Year awards, we are only doing that based off of WWE because it's just too hard to throw every other possible thing in there, because then it's like, well, you didn't see this great match that happened in this this indie thing, or it's like, it's too hard. But at the very least, this would be in the discussion, if not my pick for best pay-per-view of the year, and the Moxley Omega match would be in the discussion, if not my pick for my favorite match of this whole year. So big thumbs up to AEW for Full Gear, and I think that kind of rounds out everything that I had to say about it. Anything else you guys want to chime in about?
I love that Jon Moxley took a dig at the fact that it was unsanctioned, and he goes, "What am I up to, 4, 5?" And then he just threw the middle finger at the camera. Fuck you. Moxley threw a lot of fucks on tonight's show.
Yeah, I can't really add too much more to it other than just I looking forward to seeing more AEW after this show. It's after a few bits and pieces on the Dynamite show that leave you a little bit wavering. This is just the perfect pick me up to say, yep, this company. I hope this company has a lot of legs going forward.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys agree as well. Hopefully you had a lot of fun watching this, and if you didn't get a chance to watch it, go back and check it out. I really think it's worth it, and some other kind of way if you can. And
I'll end it on this. The first show that I think was worth $50.
I'm frugal, so I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if I'd still call it $50.
I only paid £15, so it was definitely worth it for me.
Cool. Lucky you.
But at least I think that it was a lot more worth it than some of the other ones, especially something like Fight for the Fallen. Like, this was way more than. I mean, that wasn't $50 for that one. That was one of the free ones. Yeah, it's still more worth it. Still a lot better.
I still don't think that one was worth it for free. So.
Yeah, that's nothing's free if it takes up your time. Let's put it that way. So, speaking of taking up your time, WWE Monday Night Raw is coming, and then that's going to be the hot tags after that at some point. And the next thing I'll tell you about after we do some other plugs, but I did most of mine, so I'm going to pass the baton around. Callum?
2001 A Wrestling Odyssey, or like monthly retro podcast where we go back to the year 2001, check out all the events and news that was taking place in that time. So we've just done our October edition, so you can find that on the Smark Moment channel, as well as all the other monthly editions and our special on WrestleMania 17. And if you haven't gone back to check out one of the previous episodes we've done where we rebooked the Invasion pay-per-view, I'd also highly recommend checking that out. And the November edition will be out later this month, where we cover Survivor Series 2001, the XWF. I remembered it that time. Yes, and Rebellion. So, yeah, hopefully you'll listen or view that one on YouTube, however you digest our content. And
or at least probably not a good one.
You can also view the power rankings as well as all the other weekly articles on the Smark Moment website, and follow me on Twitter at Weekmeister14.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. Check out Fightful.com, which is where I have been all day posting quite a lot of AEW content. Check out WrestleZone.com and the WrestleZone Daily. And check out eWrestling News. And you know what? Subscribe to the Patreon and give Tony more money.
I'm never going to be opposed to that. So thank you for everybody that does that, by the way. That is going to take us into the next set of things that we got to do for this podcast, which will be, as I mentioned, the hot tags coming up. But the next main event that we've got is going to be a new thing to the channel. It is Time Machine Dream Team. I figured out the logo stuff. I think I got it to a point where I really like it, so that means that we can actually do it, even though we've been sitting on the back burner for 2 years or so. And that's going to be coming up sometime Wednesday, probably, is when we're going to record it. And the setup for that is breaking down the possible options of different tag teams over the years for Survivor Series themes. So over these next couple of days, I want as many suggestions as you guys can drop in the comments below of different themed teams that we can go with. So I've written down a couple of them already just from looking back at old Survivor Series teams, things like the Foreign Fanatics, the All-Americans, the Dream Team. I didn't write down the Teamsters because that's so stupid, especially for people like Diesel and all that. There's lots of variety other than just saying like Team John Cena, because what's the theme with that, you know? So if you want us to do like Team Extreme with the Hardy Boys and such, or if you want us to have something themed around the dark side with the Undertaker, or anything that you can think of, it doesn't have to be an old Survivor Series team. We can make up new ones. Tell us your suggestions in the comments, and we will break that down next week when we get into that. And anything else that happens, stay tuned to the website, stay tuned to the Facebook and the Twitter account, and you'll find out if I have anything else I have to say. But if you just start clicking around on all those things and you pay attention, then we'll keep in contact and we'll see what happens. So for now, that's going to do us in, though. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for your comments and all your support. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.